Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first Enterprise Forum Web3 in Focus season. This is a session that we are looking to host for the next many months because it has been an interest from the enterprise members that we have such shows, but we also want to get in touch with our enterprise members and see more about what they're up to and what their roadmaps are looking like. The main thing for this session is that it's going to be a 1 hour long session. We will try to make it 1 hour, but as you know, when you have fun, time flies. So if we do go over 1 hour, please forgive us. We'll make sure it's worth your time. The other thing is this is recorded on various channels. Twitter, X, you name it, Telegram. So you will, if you don't make it to this live session, you will be able to see it in a recording somewhere. With that being said, I do want to mention that this show has 4 panelists, and they are greatly knowledgeable in all sorts of Web3 topics. And today we will be having a topic which I will let you guys know later on. And yeah, I'm your host, Abs, and we will be doing this monthly. So hope this goes well. And let me bring up our panelists. So our first panelist is Phil Lewis. Let me just bring him in. Hi, Phil. Oh, you're mute.
Yes.
Hi, Phil. Yeah. Hello. And we'll just bring up the next panelist, which is Alex from Vesper. Hi.
Hello,
Alex.
how's it going?
Hello. And then we've got Sanders from Hello Lab.
Hey guys, how are we all doing?
Great, thank you. And last but not least, we've got Lucas.
Hi, Lucas.
Everyone. Hello. So thanks, guys, for joining in. Really happy that you guys could make time, which is always an enemy for us in Web3. We don't really find the right time for everyone. So thank you for making time to coming on to this. The first section really of this session is to really an introduction to each one of you guys. So under no order or favoritism, shall we just start with Phil and then we can go down the road? Yeah. So Phil, do you want to give a little...
Yeah, thanks everybody. So my name is Phil Lewis. I'm based in Perth, Western Australia, and I'm the CEO of Vaka Consulting. Vaka Consulting is a boutique consulting firm that provides solutions to build solutions on Cardano and using other decentralized technology. I've been part of the Cardano community probably since about 2018, been contributing in a variety of different ways, at the very start of Catalyst. I have worked on quite a few different projects. I'm currently a member of the Eastern Cardano Council, which is an interim constitution committee member. And I'm also on the Intersect steering committee. So yeah, that's just a bit about me.
Awesome. Just so you guys know, the X for Vaka Consulting is down there. So if you guys want to get on that and give them a follow, that would be great. Up next, Alex, do you want to get on?
Yep. Hello. I'm Alexandru Dochiu. I'm the CEO and founder of Vesper Wallet, which for those of you who don't know us, we're the leading mobile wallet, at least on Cardano, and the driving force behind probably around half of the network's user activity at the moment. We are focusing with Vesper on making crypto very usable. And this involves making sure that transactions process fast, the UX is intuitive for the application, and people understand at a glance exactly what they're doing without the need of a comprehensive tutorial, or pretty much everything should just be self-explanatory. That's pretty much the driving force behind of what we do. We are, of course, working currently to expand the Bitcoin ecosystem, but we may touch on this later on.
Okay, thank you, Alex. And if you guys stick around, we will have a surprise for you later on the show. So I did mention this to Alex, and he was quite happy about it. So just make sure you guys are sticking around listening in so you guys get to see that. Next, I think we have Pedro. Yeah. Pedro, do you want to give a...
Yep. Okay, cool. So my name actually, I go by Lucas, but I've started this thing in Cardano called 45B. It's quite unknown for now, but been around for 3 years or a bit more. I have a bit of a technical side and also a non-technical side, and 45B leverages the second one. So our goal is to help onboard businesses. We were just meeting with tax today, for example, even regulators, to try to educate them on what all this is about. And so, yeah, you can find, for example, in our website, a series of workshops that people can attend. It was funded by Catalyst, and it's going to be our kickoff project. We're also doing open hours and onboarding sessions. And eventually, we're going to be articulating with what CF does, for example, with the Academy, to provide this kind of formative offer. In terms of product management, we also like to find opportunities to contribute to dApp's UI UX and help the applications interact and get feedback from their users. So focus groups, trainings, and feedback to applications. So that is the build side of 45B. Excited to be here
Awesome.
and to talk a bit about Web3. That's our core,
Yeah,
actually.
we are excited to hear a bit more about 45B, definitely later on the show. And of course, as always, their X is down there, so give them a follow if you haven't yet. Up next, we've got Sanders from Hello Lab. Hi, Sanders, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Abs. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, quick one. Sander Gotjes, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hello Labs. I think most people know us from our entertainment and growth pillars. Most known is the television show called Killer Whales. And in my background, I've been working in business development, marketing, technology all my life. Used to run the digital marketing division for Qualcomm, set up a couple of companies myself, sold both of them, and then started doing angel investing in Web3. And we basically got to the point back in 2021 where we said, if we want to grow the space, we need to do it through entertainment, and we need to use channels that other projects or KOLs or influencers aren't using. So we set up a television show called Killer Whales. It is a Shark Tank of crypto. It is designed to educate the space, and mostly, well, some of the listeners maybe our pops and our moms or our brothers and our sisters that are not on Web3, but do love to view a good series on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, and get themselves educated about Web3. That is what Killer Whales does. We have about 600 million potential viewers through Apple TV, Amazon Prime, a couple of other streamers. And we work together with basically KOLs like Altcoin Daily, Rand Neuner, and we produce the show together with CoinMarketCap.
Amazing. Thank you, Sanders. I'm really excited to hear about that too. So this show is really about us, of course, knowing the enterprise members a bit, and of course, what they have to say about, in general, about some Web3 topics. Now, today's topic is really protocol to product and driving Cardano's ecosystem growth. Now, I want to start this off by actually asking Alexander from Vesper Wallet on the basis of the Cardano as a product and onboarding experience and usability. Now, from your experience, Alex, with the Vesper Wallet, what are the key friction points users face from onboarding into Cardano today? And how does your wallet sort of simplify the entry point for both DeFi and mainstream users?
I believe, first of all, that this is a more crypto-wide problem, not a Cardano product necessarily. So this is an important distinction to make, because it's not somewhere where we're failing necessarily as a blockchain, but as an industry, we should strive to do better. In terms of onboarding, we definitely still have a lot of pain points. The biggest ones, which I believe are really off-putting a lot of people, are the large amounts of technical jargons spread across all the applications on the blockchain industry. And this is both for wallets and for dApps. So you have like words like collateral, staking, DeFi yields, liquidity pools, all of that sort of stuff, which to regular people, they mean absolutely nothing. Like no one knows what those are. And if you have to give them a dictionary to get involved into the Web3 space, that's going to be a big problem. Most people are not up to spending the time to learn those things. So we should definitely simplify and try to rely more on, I guess, traditional terms that people understand. In the end, people want to be able to move their money easily. They want to find yield opportunities. They want to make sure that their assets are safe, and those can be represented to the average user without without all the technical jargon that makes everything harder. So we have been striving a lot to simplify this with Vesper Wallet. We're very careful with all technical jargons. We're not perfect yet, but we're always striving to improve. So we're reviewing all the copies in the application, and we're trying to get rid more and more of all of those elements, which are very crypto specific. So in the end, simplicity just wins, I guess. The other aspect is obviously still the recovery phrase element of crypto. There are people that do not understand exactly the concept of the recovery phrase, and no matter how much you tell it that they should keep it safe and store it and never disclose it, it's just never enough. Like people do not like follow this advice. The first chance that someone asks it, like asked for the seed phrase, they're like, oh yeah, sure, there you go. Like that thing. Yeah, it doesn't matter that it says on the screen, do not share me. So those are definitely real pain points.
I just want to share something with just on that whenever I was on our Hyderabad hackathon, we were using Vesper Wallet as onboarding then, and it was hilarious because when what you just mentioned, the recovery phrase, they didn't even care. B, they were just like, someone was taking pictures of it, and so other person was looking at it. I was like, okay, guys, like this is exactly what we're talking about. So I understand what you mean, Alex. I mean, there has to be more thing, but just on that, Pedro, I want to kind of bring the mic to you. From your work enabling SMBs to adopt Cardano, what have you found the most common barriers and misconceptions they face, and how do you it helps? How are you able to help on that and support the non-technical business in leveraging blockchain?
Well, we've been we're getting started with our offer now with training and all that, but we've been networking in Cardano for quite a while, and we also go to a lot of cross-chain spaces. It's quite busy in Lisbon with a number of EVM chains and things like those. Now we're also starting to venture into spaces where people have no idea what blockchain is. So when talking with people completely new, like we were just in a Nomads conference, Digital Nomads conference, the main blocker is usually the fear of technicalities, a bit like Alex was saying, but also the fear of handling digital money. So the fact that you're talking to them about this nice use case, so like wine traceability or something. Yesterday, I went into a wine shop and started inviting them to come and attend to our course. And as soon as I say that I'm from this kind of space, people start thinking of, oh, this guy is about, it's that investments thing, And so the Web3 can be our secret sauce in saying, here's the digital book. Here's a way of a musician, for you to feedback value for a musician as you're listening to his music. So it's not necessarily an investment or something like that. So the fact that Web3 is not necessarily financial can be our secret sauce. And to showcase that in presentations, we usually leverage Vesper, for example, but we also showcase Book.io, Noom, Landano, like I said, the Georgian wine traceability project. And from there on, it's important to have real conversations with business people to really understand what their fears are and to leverage examples like those, but also to grow understanding that these are material assets or digital assets, let's say, and from using a digital book or something like that and lending it to a friend, that's when they actually understand, okay, now it's just with him, it's not with me. So from those simple use cases, they really grow an understanding of what self-custody is, self-sovereignty, that they're just not used to it, when they have an Amazon book on or Kindle or something like that.
I agree, and I think I think Phil would be also having a bit of a thing on that, because I believe you deal with a lot of enterprise clients that sometimes perceive blockchain onboarding complex. How do you make that onboarding smoother, Phil, from your end?
Yeah, look, maybe just a little bit more of my background. So pre-crypto, I've got about 20 plus years experience in corporate IT. So I've worked in large enterprises and governments, and I'm talking on kind of both sides of either being a vendor that's selling to a large enterprise or a government, or actually working in a government department or inside a large enterprise that's looking to buy technology services. So I've got quite a good understanding as to how these types of organizations approach technology. Large enterprises are quite slow moving when it comes to changing their investment in technology, and governments are even worse. They're even slower. So, it does take a long time for enterprises at that size to really come to appreciate the value that they can get from something like a new technology like blockchain. And I think that's probably one of the things that's, I guess, limiting the adoption at that end of town, in as much as we are still very early when it comes to blockchain. We are still proving out that this technology can be reliable for organizations that need that level of reliability. And it's only since Cardano has got to the point where we are seen as a high assurance, decentralized infrastructure. And even so, more recently, with the introduction of decentralized governance, I mean, a lot of the government departments I talk to, and also large enterprises I talk to, one of the risks that they identify is platform risk. So who controls this platform that you're suggesting that we use? And the introduction of decentralized governance is a way of mitigating away some of that risk, because it's now something that they don't have to necessarily be beholden to a single organization. So, I think now is the time to start to introduce some of the benefits that we're starting to introduce with decentralized technologies like Cardano. And how we get the message out, I mean, that's a different topic, but I think the answer to your question is really, we've only really just hit the point where we are actually ready.
Understood. And I just wanted to add on that, Phil, what you mentioned with the governments. I mean, I'm based in India, and I know exactly how complex and challenging it can be for governments to even understand Web3 and blockchain. I mean, I think the moment we even talk about crypto, they straight away just jump to Bitcoin. They just tell Bitcoin because that's what makes headline. Other than Bitcoin, there's nothing else they actually have knowledge about, or forget wallets. They don't even know how to get to. I mean, we are at a stage in India where we have to even guide them as to what Web3 is first, and then, and I always wonder why I'm talking about governance, because they have to yet figure out what Web3 is, but sometimes it's you got to give them a bit of talk about governance. But I want to give the mic to Sanders a bit. I know we went around the thing, but around the stage. But do you have any views on this particular topic, on onboarding, experience, and usability, and the complexity on onboarding with its government entities? Anything from your line of business?
Yeah, I think that there are like a couple of like really logical things that are kind of less already mentioned, but let me take it from like 3 different perspectives. So the first perspective is like, being an early adopter of crypto back in the day, it was extremely hard to buy Ethereum. I know back in the day when I wanted to buy my first Ethereum, I basically needed to go to my dev and say, hey, can you acquire the ETH for me? Because I just wasn't able to. And I'm not a tech dumb guy, right? So that is the first thing. So I think the way we allow people to actually come into the space, that is improving, but it isn't superb yet, right? Even if you're using a Trust wallet and try to buy a token, for example, like our token, the Hello token, you first need to buy some BNB and then you need to swap it. So it's pretty hard for a newbie. So the second thing, what I think is like, how do we actually bring forward the right projects? How do we involve more and more people into the space? And that is also a main driver for us to start creating media and IPs and television shows, because we think, there is only so much adoption that is going to come through social media channels. And there definitely is some television production, but it's all a little bit negative, right? So it's a scam here, it's a Bitcoin there, it's a story about Satoshi Nakamoto, there, but there is nothing positive and showing and highlighting the projects that are really building the future of technology and the future of decentralized finance. So I think we need to work on that game, on the adoption game, and how do we reach people in the comfort of their homes and educate and adopt them a little bit more about what is happening in the space. So I really like what, for example, my colleague Lucas is doing here, educational platforms, et cetera, we also do part of that with the Killer Whales Academy. So we're leveraging like media plays into something that people will actually educate them about that. And then the third thing is that, it's quite controversial, because one of the things that I'm thinking about is the way we structure the technology right now. So to make something seamless, like for example, my grandma using their bank app, that's a big step for her, but for her it's like super easy. So she applies, does a KYC, and she can transfer money in and out. If you would like to do the same thing with a protocol on a L1 or an L2, you do not only probably need the currency of that ecosystem, but you also need the currency of the L1 or the L2. So we're putting up hurdles with gas fees and stuff like that. That makes it even more complex for people to actually understand it. So you get into a process where we're sponsoring gas fees, and it just makes it harder for people to understand. It makes it more tech savvy, and it also puts up like more and more thresholds for people to easily onboard. What could be better? For example, what Alex is saying with Vesper is like just onboard people without the need of like additional tokens, additional tools, et cetera, et cetera. It's decentralized finance, make things easy. And I've been hearing too long that Bitcoin is the currency of the future or Ethereum is the currency of the future. It just seems that we're not building these apps. So start building these apps. And that's what we're hunting for the show, for our incubator services, for our growth services. Get the projects out there that are building the true gems. And for us, the true gems is not another DeFi protocol, but the ones that are building something that people can adopt every moment of the day. They can watch the show, download the app, log into the portal, and start using it.
That's amazing. I think this kind of like ties into what, our next topic really, which is, dive deeper into how it's challenging for the enterprise and government adoption. Because as we're talking about this, you're absolutely right. Every time we are looking at a government to adopt the system and blockchain, it's, as I mentioned, it's always a hurdle for them to even understand to begin with what Web3 is, let alone what, token and gas prices and et cetera. So, but I do want to ask Phil that you're working directly with enterprise and government. So the obstacles that you face in wider adoption to Cardano-based solutions, what would that be, Phil?
Before I answer that, I think Alex just wanted to have a follow-up on the last topic. Do you want to say something,
Sure.
Alex?
Sure, Alex. Yeah.
Thank you for this. Yeah, I think it went unnoticed.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have a final remark on the onboarding stuff, because I know we have, I guess, two companies here that partly focus on, I guess, sharing knowledge and overall like training, I guess, for people to understand better what they're dealing with in terms of Web3. That may come a bit, I guess, risky, so please don't hate me. But I've seen also this backfiring already with Vesper, because we get people that have learned a way of doing something, and specifically to Cardano, for example, they learned that they should do something that's called unfracking UTXOs. Now, if you ask me, no person should know what those two words mean independently or together, but they come to us and they're like, how do I do this? And because someone told me that I need to do this, or I've heard it somehow, and I'm like, you don't need to do this with Vesper. Like, this is just not something that's required at all. Or they ask me, how do I set something up, or that I cannot withdraw rewards because I'm not delegated to a DREP. So the problem is that, yes, those are technically correct and valid questions, but no user should care about this, because this, for example, is handled automatically by us, like with Vesper. Like, we sort out all of those potential technical issues that could cause some other issues down the line. But because someone have been teaching those people those technical elements about Cardano, for example, or other blockchains, it would be the same thing. They come to us asking us about something that is just irrelevant. Basically, they should just forget that those things exist. That's the best thing that they can do. So there is a downside to teaching them about some intricacies of the blockchain technology, because sometimes they come to expect it and they come frustrated, like, why is it not there? And I'm like, it should not be there. It should have never been there to begin with. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to add to this, that we should be careful what we teach to the users, because not everything should be taught. Some things should just be improved upon.
I'll just build on that a little bit before answering the last question as well, Abs.
Sure.
I think there is a degree of truth to that. I mean, obviously, the education piece needs to be tailored to the audience, I guess, is the message behind that. But I agree. I think that part of the challenge is that we're still building infrastructure. And to Sander's point, it's like people just need to start building apps. Let's forget about the infrastructure. Okay, it's like saying to people, when the internet first started, and you had to manually configure your IP address and your gateway address and your subnet mask and all this, and it's like the average user, they've got no clue what those things are, and they don't need to know, and people don't know these days what those things are because it's been abstracted away from them. But the seed phrase and the UTXO fragmentation and all these kind of terms, they're infrastructure concepts, and we need to abstract those things away from the average user. So I think I agree with Sander. It's like, let's start building apps that abstract away all this complexity. But to your last question, Abs, I think just with regards to the challenge for onboarding, I guess, enterprise and governments, I think one of the challenges that we've got is that we are building decentralized infrastructure, i.e., nobody owns it. And it's probably a little bit easier in the early stages, because you've generally got an organization that, like a labs company or a foundation, that is kind of, they are the flagship that somebody can go and talk to. But that's not really scalable. They can't service everybody in the world that wants to use this infrastructure. Okay, and so it's, where is my entry point? Ultimately is the challenge. Like, who do I go to speak to about how to use this? If I'm using Web2 infrastructure, I go to AWS or I go to Microsoft Azure, and there's a team there that I can speak to. It's in their interest to help me on board to their platform. But we don't have that in a decentralized ecosystem. So this is actually one of the considerations that was made recently as part of Intersect. So I recently, as part of the Growth and Marketing Committee, suggested that one of the initiatives should be, how do we do enterprise and government adoption? So let's spin up a working group, which we've done. We've had 3 meetings now. Lucas has attended, which is great. And we're starting to think about, okay, how can we scale the ways to drive adoption in that space? So how can we take what the Cardano Foundation has done, what Emergo has done, when they've been the kind of the front store windows of organizations that they come to, how do we scale that out, to all the different regions around the world, so that we can service the number of people? And how can we make a pipeline of entry for people? If they're going to Cardano.org, then maybe we need some kind of marketplace of vendors that can showcase their different capabilities, and by region, by specialty. So I think it's just trying to think of some of these solutions and understanding that we are in a decentralized ecosystem, and there isn't a leader that's going to say, there's no CEO to say, right, you guys go off and do this marketing campaign. So it's challenging, but obviously that's what Intersect's here for, to try and help us come together as ecosystem members to ideate around how we do this. So if anybody's interested in contributing to that working group, I would invite you to reach out, and the more people that can help in come up with some ideas, the better.
Does anybody else want to add to Phil's? Yeah, Alex, please. Yeah.
Just briefly, I think that's a general issue, not necessarily something to do with blockchain, but I feel like the people are often trying to sell the technology rather than what it solves. So you're going to a client and you're trying to sell the fact that you're using blockchain and stuff like this. That doesn't resonate with anyone. Like, you need to sell exactly the problem that you're solving. And if it's possible, to not even mention the word blockchain or crypto or Cardano or Bitcoin. I'm just telling you, I'm saving you this amount of money and I'm doing this securely. That's what should be sold. And I think that a lot of people focus on selling the technology, which is the wrong way to approach it.
Sandra, I do want to give the mic to you a bit. Just want to know what Phil and Alex mentioned from the media and entertainment angle. Are you seeing any challenges, of getting mainstream companies comfortable engaging with blockchain from your side? When you speak to a lot of these companies from killer whales, right?
It's a good question. So let me kick it off by saying like a couple of observations that we've had from producing the show and running incubator services and investing into projects, right? So to give you guys an example, we put out season 1 of Killer Whales, and there were 22 participants. There were 3 very clear winners. One project got acquired by Consensus and MetaMask. One project got a $20 million investment ticket, and another project raised about $10 million with a pivot that they were doing, and they pitched on the show. And that is like 30% of the projects that participate on the show. These are clear winners. But the best thing was 2 out of these 3 had absolutely no token, no NFTs, no nothing attached. They were providing in a service that made it easier for people to experience Web3. And I give you the example. So the first one was a product called Wallet Guard. And basically they were an extension of MetaMask. And what they would do is whenever somebody would interact with MetaMask, they would look up the contract that they were interacting with, and they would give like a pop-up. They would say, hey, this contract that you are interacting with is malicious or has been identified as malicious. A very simple service, but it wasn't around back then. When they were on the show, they saved about $5 million in fund. By the time the show was at 50 million, by the time they were sold 150 million. The second product was Ape Water. They were making water in cans and putting up like a Bored Ape on the front and like a QR code that would take you to like a metaverse type of environment of Bored Ape Yacht Club. And it was designed to drive adoption and to be, driven within a culture. So you can immediately see that these types of products really take off, and they are very clear. They are not obstructing in any shape or form to adopt the ecosystem, but you will start using a MetaMask wallet, or you will get into a metaverse, or you will try to understand what an NFT is, because that's the picture on the front of the cat. Then if you look at like adoption from the space, I think our Web3 ecosystem is a very particular one, right? It's very particular. It has its own semantics. It has its own dimensions, their own way of financing, all of that stuff. But I think that especially in the US, the adoption, and especially also in the Hollywood ecosystem, where we are around and about quite a lot, there is a lot of interest with the new government in place and the new administration. I think some of these industries, for example, like the Hollywood and television show and movie production industry, would be very much helped with a on-chain element there. I also believe that there is like a lot of ground to cover there, and that the adoption is something that they're really looking at. I also think that the clearest and best use case for blockchain technology is basically still the ledger functionality. So any big company that wants to put assets on chain, or we've now seen it with Robinhood adopting some stocks, that putting them out as RWAs. This is exactly what the blockchain is meant for. And we're kind of coming to that moment in time where people are getting this. The technology is at the place that they can adopt it, and the regulatory framework is around that they can actually start using this. So I do think that we're seeing a pivot from maybe gamify, metaverses, NFTs towards meme coins, and now finally into adoption and real world utility. And I do think that anything that involves Bitcoin, AI, or RWAs, they basically are now laying the foundation for crypto adoption in the future. And also most of the projects that we're talking to, because we have projects applying like on a daily basis, also from bigger VCs, you definitely see the focus on that end. There are enough DeFi applications that people don't understand are really built for Web3 people. Now we're coming up with Web2 solutions. And I think that's the route that we need to go, and that will drive adoption.
I just want to bring something up that, Sanders, you mentioned before, because you can also come into this. I want to ask, I know UAE, Dubai, UAE, I've seen that they have adopted like crypto, like you could buy cars, you could buy. So why is UAE able to do this and other countries are not able to? Is it because of their, you may know more about it? Is it because the government's more lenient towards it, or what exactly? How are they able to get all this complicated lingo and the other governments aren't?
Well, I think there are three main things. So one, that their infrastructure is there, so people are adopting this for a long time. A lot of crypto communities there. There are also like a lot of like institutional players there, from VCs to exchanges, etc., etc. Second thing is that they have a very open policy in terms of like currencies and currency offsets. So the legal framework only looks at value exchange. So if something is perceived to have value between two parties, they would allow it to be used as a commodity or as a type of currency to pay for something. And then the third thing, I don't think that they really have something to protect, right? So they have a loose monetary policy. They have their own currency, and they do look heavily at like the US dollar, but they're very, very open and free, and they believe in whatever makes it possible to exchange goods or services in any shape or form, we'll adopt it. And it's a little bit more of a libertarian type of approach. But you're right. You can buy anything everywhere with cryptocurrency.
Yes.
And in that sense, they're an example. Just now, I think there was a policy passed that you can use cryptocurrency as a backup for a mortgage in the US.
Okay. I have to read on that.
It kind of makes sense.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, and I needed to know that because I know you were somewhere in UAE. I don't remember, but you obviously have extensive knowledge on that. But Pedro, or Lucas, sorry, I know I get mixed up on this. So Lucas, just want to know, from your perspective, what are the role that Cardano's ecosystem play to better support regulatory friendly enterprise adoption?
Okay. So picking up a bit like Phil was saying, on there's initially there's the founding entities, and then there's a number of other entities. And 45B organized the Cardano Summit event last year, and we had a panel where we touched on that a lot with legal people and university teachers. And one thing that was consensual in that panel was that because, well, it's consensual that it's a two-edged sword. You know, some blockchains have just one entity and everyone goes there, the regulators, the state, the projects that are building. But in our case, we have 3 founding entities, and we have a number of entities consulting and doing advisory or showing projects and local governments what their view of the blockchain is and what can be done. So I think in our case, it is a value and a plus for Cardano that we are this decentralized. Because, for example, in Portugal, there is one Portuguese blockchain association. They're doing a test bed, and they are allowing a lot of projects to. So just to be clear, this is a test bed between regulators and builders. You know, and this is very concrete to the Portuguese framing, which aligns with the European framing. So these lawyers who are partners with 45B, they're helping the local regulators implement legislation that's coming from Europe and adapting it with the collaboration or using it as a test bed, let's say, real projects that are building. So those projects are being built in this context, articulating with all these players. You can't have this and have CF running all of it, you know? So you need all these partners that are within each region. And I bet, and in a way, we're all doing this kind of assessment, like Phil was saying, to find out who's doing what where. But as long as a project owner or as a regulator, you find reliable or trusted sources of knowledge about Cardano, those are going to articulate between them. And I think it is a plus for us that we can get so adjusted to each region's specifics. As a project owner, find builders or lawyers first, as you prefer, but then as well, get them to articulate between each other. And in our case, for example, 45B is there for when they actually want to reach out to their end users and think about their end users' perspective on the application that was built, you know, to try to make it as non-technical as possible.
I wanted to ask all 4 of you, would you say that if we are able to bring in convenience, because that's one thing that I've seen with many projects, and I've come across a project that brings in convenience to the blockchain is a winner, because I recently met a project in India itself, and they're able to use Twitter as, if you want to, for example, go to any NFT market, let's say Magic Eden, rather than going to Magic Eden, you can actually access it on Twitter itself. And when I saw that, so that, I think that's a good example of, you know, and I saw that, I was like, okay, we need to get this on Cardano, and I've been speaking to them on a regular basis, and we were just trying to get them on. But you will get to hear about them and their services. Just so you all know, as enterprise members, you guys can utilize their services, and you will definitely get some benefits as being an enterprise member of Intersect, because they will be also one. But what I mean by this is just that the convenience that they're giving, when I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, this proves a lot. This just lowers the time of going to some place. If you want to buy something, connect the wallet in Twitter, in X, and just get it done with. And that just simplifies life. So I agree with you guys, what you're mentioning on this. And I think we have been going for 43 minutes, actually 44 minutes on nonstop talking. So let's have a break, cool off period, guys. And I want to bring this to a topic which I'm just going to ask a question, and this is just going to be, you guys can answer in whatever way. So what is your favorite meme coin? I know someone talked about meme coins. answers. And I know Alex has many, but or Alex probably can't give any favoritism to any coin. He's holding a wallet. But I'm just saying, what is your favorite meme coins? I have Husky here, as you guys all know. Sandra, do you know Husky?
No, but I already got the feeling that I need to learn about it.
Yeah, Huskies are a famous meme coin on Cardano, so you got to
Not
get
worth
a bit about
anything.
it.
Husky
Come on,
promises to
Lucas.
never be worth anything.
Oh boy, this was a bad idea for a break. No, I'm joking, but yeah, just out of curiosity, I want to know what sort of meme coins, if you guys have even dwelled in meme coins, or I'm sure you have. I don't even know why I'm asking if you have or not, but yeah.
I think
Phil, do you want to go for it, or Lucas?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in and say that we have this project Snack on Cardano, for example. I know that they have some. I'm not sure if it's going ahead, that they're going to be making an energy drink, and it aligns a lot with what Sander was saying, that we need real products, and sometimes it's not we need, but sometimes or often these kinds of side projects, side products can help get the word out there. We were just in the non-fungible conference in Lisbon, which was great, cross-chain, a lot of art in there. And there was a project there just giving out water. It's like flavored water with 3 brands. It was like the Rect flavor and this and that other flavor. And so I think meme coins can be very instrumental in simplifying a bit, like I was saying. Take, for example, like Hosky declares, we're not worth anything, so no expectation of profit or something. Just play with it and use it for onboarding, and that's it.
Well, speaking of onboarding, if you all have seen, I have put a QR code on top of Alex's face. That's not intentional. It's just that's how the format is. But this QR code leads you to the Vesper wallet. You guys are most welcome to download it and onboard directly the wallet, and you guys will be onboarded to a Cardano as that being your first wallet. And do send us your wallet address to my X, and I will pick a winner, and they will get a surprise. So that was the surprise, guys. So I know someone has to have a surprise. It has to be fun. It can't be always serious discussions. We have to have a bit of fun here. But I know Lucas talked about, but Phil, Alex, any meme coins that you're liking? Bonk, maybe.
I've been
Shiba.
I've been very,
Shiba.
I've been very vocal on X about my dislike of meme coins, mainly because the majority of them are extractive, which I just don't feel is a net positive for the ecosystem. I do obviously think that ones like Snack that are building a community that is building value, I kind of almost feel they don't fit the true mold of meme coins in the way most people think of meme coins. I think we maybe need a different term for them. But if I had to give an answer, my favorite meme coin is Bitcoin. It's the ultimate meme. I mean, at the end of the day, a meme coin is the community deciding that something has value. And that's the only way that Bitcoin got value, is that the community decided. So I'm going to go with Bitcoin.
Wow. Phil just dropped the mic there. I could just see Phil just dropping the mic. You literally dropped the mic. Alex, what would you say from your end?
I'm just hoping I'll get this question in the future so I can still feel his answer. But other than that, at least in the Cardano space, we've been working with quite a few of them, like I'd say, and we have pretty good relationships with the top ones. I think it may be unwise to give any direct preference, but yes, I do actually agree with Phil as a whole that there are a lot of them that have been created only for the sake of doing a quick extraction, and this is not great. Although I feel like this has happened a lot more on other chains, though, rather than Cardano, which I guess it's fortunate. But yeah, at least the ones that are the top meme coins on Cardano, I think they're great. I like the people behind them in general. We're getting very well along, and what they're doing is they are indeed actually bringing a community. They're actually onboarding users into the space, so they're doing a great job as a whole. And sometimes it's not bad to have a bit of fun as well, you know.
It's always nice to have some fun. So speaking of fun, I think we need to move on. I think we are hitting the 50-minute time limit.
We didn't get Sanders. We didn't get Sanders meme coin.
Did Sander not mention it? Oh man.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, no
Go
worries,
on then.
no worries.
No.
I will keep it like super short. I will keep it super short. So me and Phil, we align on a lot of this stuff, right? So there is always a moment in time where you need to start looking at, do I go into the meme coin route, especially the last 2 years, or do I like start focus on like utility? I have an investor mindset, so I invest in stuff that are, you know, early stage that I think these will do well. But I'm also the type of guy that says, let's treat meme coins for what they are. They are an incredible leverage play, very interesting to play around with. So my thesis on meme coins is I really don't care which one. I like some a little bit more about the community, but my thesis is whenever there's a bear, I will buy the biggest one, just put it in the wallet, forget about it, and then when they go 10x, I just sell them. So that's really honest, but yeah.
Quick money.
I will say that while I don't particularly like meme coins, I couldn't influence my wife not to get a meme coin. She did buy Shiba Inu, and I can't. There's nothing I can do about it.
I'm an ex Shiba Inu. I used to. I got into Shiba Inu because I mean, since we're talking about meme
it's
coins,
part of
Doge,
the learning process, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, as you dive in, and Sandra was saying, so some people are hodlers. Phil was expressing that point of view, and I'm very much a Bitcoiner as well. Other people, you know, we grow into different shells, let's say, as we mature, and yeah, it's a stage. It teaches you about supply and demand for sure.
One last thing I want to ask you guys, since we're talking about Bitcoin, meme coins. Doge has made a complete different sort of thing with Elon Musk obviously being there. But I mean, do you guys look at Doge as meme coin anymore, or is it still? Does it actually have potential with what Elon's doing? Possibly even bring it into his. No comments. Okay. Just want to know.
At a crypto convention we had here in Australia, there was somebody representing Doge, and he talked about it like it was more of a community initiative now, that the value that it's accruing is being used to bring value back to the community. And so it's less about just that extractive mindset. He did what did he say Doge stood for? Doing one good thing every day or something like that. I can't remember what he had some what the acronym stood for in his mind, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, they're all going to try and make their mark and differentiate themselves from each other, and that's obviously how it works, isn't it? With meme coins, if you haven't got an actual product, then you've got to find some edge.
Absolutely.
One
right, guys.
thing as well is the nature of the cycles, you know, hype and all that. It aligns with the market as global liquidity, as we know, but we never know if we're talking about, for example, Doge. Someone could say it's a thing of the past, but as more and more adoption keeps growing globally, if we have 50% of the global population aware and using Web3 or blockchain and all those things, we're going to have a lot more cautionary tales. So it's important to keep them and keep the lessons learned. I was there 2021 with Doge, and I think it's culturally something that's permeating society, and they're going to be, if not exactly in that form, they're going to be back in the future for sure. We just need to look at the human side, not just the token side, value side.
It's amazing how this break has actually become a topic now of our main. But it is interesting because, I mean, I'm going to mention this and you guys, but it becomes like a cycle, because right now, don't take this advice, but maybe a bear market's coming up for crypto, and then the meme coins go up, and then the meme coins go down, then the NFTs go up. It's just this 3 cycles go, and if you're really good at it, you can actually see, now I know that the meme coins are going to go up. Let's check out which are meme coins. And you know, again, these are just fun top talks. We're not giving any advice or anything. So please, guys, just tread carefully on memes. Sorry.
I'm waiting for NFTs to return.
The returns, yes, of
Some
course.
shape of them will.
I was heavy on Solana NFTs back in 2021. I don't know if you guys were, but I've done a lot of the Degen, Ape, even DeGods and all that. I mean, yeah, all that stuff. Utes. Yeah, I got really excited. Anyway, so thank you very much for that break time. Do you guys have anything else to add before we go to the next questions? Yep. No? All good? Okay.
Just
so
that I hope you solved them for their own sake.
No worries. I will take this QR. We will put it back on later on. So guys, coming back to our main topic on protocol to product, I want to touch on the clarifying narratives around Web3, crypto and DeFi. And I think the best right now to speak to is Sanders right here from Hello Labs. I want to know from the mainstream narrative around Web3 and crypto, often it fluctuates between hype and skepticism that we were just in a bit talking about hypes and etc. What have you learned from Killer Whale's experience that helps bridge the gap for the wider audiences?
It's a good question. I think when we did season 1, we approached it a little bit more as, let's get some great young builders and pitch them their ideas. And we use these KOLs to get feedback and ask the questions that people at home will be asking. But what you would see is that even though we spend a lot of time on story producing something like that, right? Because these projects will come in and pitch as they would be pitching VCs. But, like regular audiences just drop off completely. They're like, I don't understand the technology. I don't understand what you're trying to build. I don't understand why you're raising money, and I don't understand how to interact with it. So what we really learned from season 1 and is we need to explain more. And people are watching this show or these 5 episodes, maybe at 40 minutes at a time. So that is like 200 minutes of educational time. So what we've learned is that yes, the projects that are coming on there, they need to be a little bit more mature. So they need to have a working product. People need to be able to use it. The second thing is we need to pitch to the whales. These projects need to pitch to the whales as if they were entrepreneurs in the Web2 world. So they would tell about, what is their drive? Why are they doing this, et cetera, et cetera. And then the third thing is we added in a voiceover and we asked the thread guy to do that. And basically what he does is whenever a project, for example, start pitching, like we're a meme coin on Base, there are a gazillion questions that people are going through their heads at that moment in time. What is a meme coin? What is Base? What is a blockchain? Et cetera, right? So we now have one person dedicated as a voiceover explaining a little bit, okay, what is a meme coin? What is a blockchain? And what is Base? Continue, right? So the gap between everyday users and us in the Web3 space is incredibly big. It's if we would produce a show and we would put on a hackathon pitch on a television show, one nobody will watch, and the people that will be watching would drop out after 2 minutes, right? So, and it's a little bit like pitching HTTPS, to, in the 90s. Right? Nobody understands. So I think what we need to deliver to the retail audience are solutions that people understand, people that can experience that, start using that. And I think that is the biggest step. And that also leads into like the streamers like Apple TV, Amazon Prime, the producers there. When we gave them season 2, they were like, wow, this is an epiphany. This is so much clearer for me to show it at home or watch it with the team and make it understandable. And at the same time, we see that the crypto community is investing back into these projects because we are giving away $1.5 million to these projects in growth funding. So they see this as a good news story. And until the moment in time where we have blockchain integrated in a lot of day-to-day, software solutions and banks and stuff like that, I think that is the way. Make sure that people are easily to understand, easily to download. Vesper Wallet, we just shown it, like download it, start using it, easy. Right? That's what we need. And if we're able to produce this in an entertaining way, and we tell about the story of the founder or the problem that they're solving instead of the technology, that's when people connect. And that's when we see social traction. That's when we see VCs from Web2 reach out. That's when we see broadcasters reach out. Then we see even magazines like Hollywood Reporter or Vanity Magazine or whatever come in with a couple of questions and say, what is this stuff that you guys are talking about? So that is the route to adoption for us.
Does anybody want to comment or add on to that? Okay. Moving on to what this is, I think, Phil, I want to know how would you guide enterprise partners to see through the noise and the focus of the real Web3 value?
Well, yeah, I mean, I touched on this a little bit earlier about, I guess, where we're at in the evolution of blockchain and how ready it is. Sanders kind of touched on this a little bit earlier as well, talking about DeFi and how DeFi right now is servicing, tokens that exist in the digital world only. They don't really touch the real world. And so, we've still been experimenting with how this all works. Most of the activity in DeFi is people just speculating on tokens that have been created with very little, I guess, real world value being given to them. So I think as more real world utility starts to enter into the system, I think it's going to be a lot easier to be able to direct people to where the solutions that meet their requirements are. It's quite fortunate that there is a big difference between the enterprise world and the retail world. I guess when we talk about enterprise, we can think of them in two different ways. We can think of them as like institutional investors, and obviously they're already here. They're already buying Bitcoin. They're already buying, the large cap coins. But then the enterprises that want to use the technology and not necessarily looking at it from an investment perspective, outside of the occasional mainstream news article like an FTX or something like that, they're not seeing the noise. So, we are quite fortunate that it is being contained to the degens, most of that noise. But I think, we're starting to mature in our tooling, and we're getting to the point where we have a reliable enough system and infrastructure that, the cream's going to rise to the top, and these enterprises are going to start to pick up on some of these tools to be able to start adopting them for real. And it's just about obviously being across what those tools are. I mean, I feel quite fortunate that we're in Cardano and we somewhat have a bit of a culture of that's what the purpose that we're building for, that we are building for reliable systems. And we can obviously point to showcases like, NASA doing, supply chain on Cardano, and, governments adopting it, like the Dubai police are doing, ballistics proofs on Cardano. So, we can kind of talk about all these, I guess, organizations that people would say, well, why are they picking that infrastructure over this one? And ultimately we've got to lean into where our strengths are. Cardano has been built to be reliable. It's been built to be high assurance infrastructure at the end of the day. Now, that has a certain use case. Cardano is not built for, I guess, point of sale payments. It's not fast enough, and that's just being truthful. Okay. It's not built for, high speed trading. It's just not built for that purpose. Okay. So we've got to lean into where our strengths are and say, this is what it's been built for. Now, do you want to store billions of dollars worth of value on here that you move once or twice a year? Okay, then this infrastructure is for you, because you can trust that it's not going to go down. There's not going to be any security breaches in smart contracts. But if you want something that's really fast and it's with a token that is for gaming, that okay, you'll be disappointed, but you're not going to lose your house if you lose it. Then maybe another chain is suitable for that. It's all about where on the risk curve are we looking at this from. So I think as we start to be able to build the messaging around this, then the noise will eventually subside, and everybody will start to realize where to go for what type of use case it is.
Agreed. And I know you mentioned about DeFi, and I just want to ask Alex, how important is it to simplify DeFi narratives to attract, let's say, real user adoption on what Phil's mentioned?
I mean, I'm always all for convenience and for simplicity. So I guess whatever question you ask, I'll be like, yes, we should simplify it.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it's the same issue. A lot of the DeFi products are trying to sell technology rather than what they're providing as a solution. So some of them are generally providing self-custody based finance practically, so you can earn yield without having the assets held by a third party. And this brings some peace of mind, I guess, while it also maybe gives you more attractive opportunities. So I believe that the applications themselves should try as much as possible to abstract away all the blockchain elements and go more into trying to focus on the product that they're providing rather than the technology that it's built on. So yes, if you want proper adoption, you need to completely abstract away any blockchain elements.
Understood. And I think this comes to the next stage of ours, which I wanted to actually ask to all four of you, is the market focus on driving real world adoption. Now, Pedro, where should Cardano's ecosystem focus its efforts in the next 12 to 24 months in putting efforts into real world adoption? And what industries or regions, if you may even want to specify to that,
Well, just to follow up on Phil as well. Phil was saying this use case is not for Cardano, but I value that you're thinking of today. But I'm very, very optimistic about what Leos can do, what Hydra and other L2s can do. There are projects for high frequency trading on Cardano. There are veering up, so I'm keeping my eyes open for that one.
Me too. And I'll be glad when we can do it all.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
So Abs, for can I call you Abs? Yeah, I didn't know you should go by Abs.
No,
so
you can.
Yeah, for real world adoption, I think the most simple day-to-day things, but done well with great UX, great service, and compliant and as shareable between users as possible. Web3 is innovative, but the human nature that makes something go viral is as old as time. So for us, there's a lot that can be done in digitizing and tokenizing all that used to be Web 2. I usually say not all of Web 2 is financial use cases. Why should Web 3 or all be just DeFi? Replacing things with digital bearer assets, keeping people away from tech jargon, can be I think should be the focus. We already have digital books. We have digital music. For example, there's one use case that is very well done already in Bitcoin with Lightning, which is you're listening to music in one direction. Why shouldn't value stream the opposite direction? Like we were saying, maybe Hydra could be more useful for that if you want to pay by the minute. But instead of paying your Spotify by the month, maybe you could pay by the hour with an ADA transaction or with some kind of pre-topped up wallet into a smart contract. These kinds of use cases, there's a lot of opportunity to implement them and take them out there, abstracting the technical side of it. What else? So thinking of different regions, for example, last year we were in Argentina, And there were people outside Disco saying, we take payments and pay in crypto, pay your drink in crypto. You can just tap or something. And so there's a number of places where those use cases are already being used. Those locations could be leveraged to deploy other solutions. And maybe for example, I was saying I'm living close to Lisbon. There's a lot of capitals. Almost all the bigger capitals of the world are very eclectic, and there are places, blockchain friendly spaces in there where we can go to learn and to broaden to bigger adoption. Take those people that usually just go there, start going to other places and promote real world use cases. So I know you're asking about the solutions. I'm talking about the medium. And I think the medium is people, right? Word of mouth with not necessarily very serious use cases, but real world use cases that don't involve your life savings, you see. Then thinking of another angle, which is the online, if you think of it, almost all of the Cardano community is online native people, and there's a lot more online native spaces out on chain online. Sorry, so language interchange spaces, digital nomad spaces, a number of spaces where people have their own communities. We could go there and talk to them about DAOs. We can talk to them about governance. For example, network state is something that resonates a lot with this. What we do, and a lot of people that are already articulating globally online. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. You notice that I'm not really saying we should develop a technology. I'm saying we just should take a different angle and take ourselves to different spaces as well. I think I'll leave it at this, but I'm very curious to discuss it.
Yeah, I mean, I would be opening up to the panelists like Sanders. Would you be interested to shed some light onto what Lucas mentioned as to how the form, how it should be the people as a medium? So.
Yeah, so I actually have a very contradicting opinion about this. So let me explain how my brain works, right? So I look at business opportunities, and I think about ways to tell a story that is filled with entertainment, because we need emotion in everything that we do to grab the attention, right? That's why we're developing media plays and we're working with projects on how do you catch the attention. And what you see right now in the space is that there are two target audience. There is one target audience that is, we call them degenerates, right? But it doesn't matter. These are the big guys. They are the DeFi whales. These are the meme coin hunters, the NFT hunters, the pump.fun guys. It doesn't matter. They bring volume. They bring liquidity. They bring adoption. They bring marketing power. They bring a wider range of plays, right? So, and this space is moving incredibly fast. So if Cardano wants to tap into that, there definitely needs to be more attention towards this target audience, and not because it's fast or things are being rocked, et cetera, et cetera. No, it's the culture that is what is being built, right? So there is a huge opportunity there to do something there. Then on the other side, and that could also be a strategic direction, is where you say, well, we're actually developing the infrastructure for the future, right? So, for example, you need to start thinking about, okay, what type of utility and what type of products can we, as a technology holder, actually develop that add value, right? You can have any type of DeFi platform being built. You can have any type of like what Abstract is doing, or like content creators, et cetera, but then I think Abstract, and for example, we partnered up with another L1 and Jump Crypto in developing the Netflix of crypto, right? So we're developing these bigger narratives that actually have the real world adoption, and we can have everybody build on that, whoever wants to build on that, but we are the only ones that can actually put the blockchain value in there and really drive that adoption. So in my mind, I'm always like, okay, how do we create something that sticks to people, that people can easily access, but where also the L1 or the L2 actually has a lot of added value, and not only the builder is building a basic product, but with all the data and with all the technology and all the processing power, what can we do to add value to that? So what can we build on a bigger level? And I think that's the challenge that everybody in the space is trying to tackle right now. And I think a lot of projects, a lot of foundations in this space, for us it's the same. I think every day we run into this. This space is built on 7 days a week, 24 hours. It doesn't matter. It goes on, it goes fast, it goes brutal, you fail fast, and you rebuild, right? But if it catches hard and quick. And I think you need to have a couple of these successes to bring belief and drive belief into an ecosystem and, get growing there. So we focus on, and that's also how I think, we could help the Cardano ecosystem is like, okay, how do we bring news or entertainment in a different way? How do we give room for new concepts and innovations? And how do we, let the builders build, but how do we curate a couple of like true gems that do something really spectacular and that we as Cardano community or the Cardano Foundation can leverage in saying, okay, we're developing this value proposition. We have all this community. We have seen an influx, and this is what we can bring to the table. And I think that is something that is really interesting to think about, but might also be a little bit harder to execute in the structure in which Cardano, Intersect, Emergo are working together. But we can do it, right? That's why we're here. We believe that this can work, and we just need to find a route and start building that future. And it starts today, and it doesn't end 24/7, basically 365.
So you're talking about You're talking about narratives, essentially, Sander. So tapping into those narratives. I think that a great candidate for that, to get a spotlight, as you're talking about, is the Bitcoin DeFi narrative. Speak to someone like Sheldon at Sundial, and go, okay, what do you guys? Yeah, if we can spotlight that kind of project that's bringing Bitcoin DeFi on Cardano, because the UTXO chains, there's a perfect synergy between them. I think that exactly what you said. It's about what's going to catch fire. That to me can catch fire. Yeah,
100% and 100%. And it would be even more awesome if then we allow other big institutional partners to build on that, right? Because then we check a couple of more boxes for them to be really appealing, and we can grow that entire space. And I bet that it will bring a lot of fun to the community, right? Because they can see, hey, I can degen into this, or I can try to build on this, or I can leverage this. Because in the end, that's what a lot of people in the space do, and also still a lot of people with the right bank account, so to say, or the right crypto wallet account, the right Vesper wallet account. So
yes, Vesper wallet account.
There we go.
There you go. So okay, so we have kind of reached the 120-minute mark, 1 hour with 20 minutes. So I think we'll move to the next stage where really
I think Alex was wanting to jump in.
Yes, I was actually pretty keen to jump in on this.
Oh yes, please. Sorry, I didn't see your hand raised. Sorry.
Yeah.
Apologies for that.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt your moment to move on. But
please.
Unfortunately, I have to be a bit technical. So I believe the original question was what Cardano should focus on for the next 12 to 24 months. And in reality, we have a few very real technical challenges that are being overlooked. So the first one is, well, I'll mention the technical jargon first, in case someone knows it, is the mean UTXO ADA. So what this actually does is it puts a restriction that you can, in practice, not really send less than 1 ADA to someone. So this has insane consequences in reality, because imagine if with cash, all of a sudden, you cannot pay anything that's like under $1 or under $2. Like, it does not allow microtransactions if you cannot do this. And there are a lot of opportunities like products that you can build that rely on microtransactions. You are pretty much cutting a potential avenue for businesses to create products and to earn a revenue while doing so. This, I believe, is also a really big problem because it ties into another issue, which has to do with locked ADA when you hold other tokens and NFTs on your wallet. So as a consequence of the same thing, you need to have some ADA that stays in your wallet alongside the other tokens. But most of the time, when people set up a new wallet to try something, they start with something like 510 ADA. They buy a token or something, they're left with a tiny bit of ADA, and as a consequence of this min ADA requirement, they have like 5 ADA, some snack in their wallet, and all of a sudden they cannot do anything. They cannot trade anymore because they don't have enough money to cover the deposit on a swap, which, by the way, is again a consequence of the min ADA. That's why you need the deposit. And when you try to send some money to someone, you're like, I have 5 ADA. Why can I send only like 2 ADA? Because you need to account for the min ADA again and for transaction fees. So all of a sudden, when you have low balances on an account, it becomes insanely problematic. It's a huge user experience issues, and a lot of the user experience problems on Cardano end up being connected somehow to this technical requirement. I believe this should be addressed as soon as possible, and I usually take every chance to mention it because it would improve the user experience on Cardano by a lot. We're trying to like cover for this issue as much as we can with Vesper by making it clearer that you cannot send some amounts because they're locked due to a network requirement. But there's a lot of issues. People do not create a new wallet to try something and put $10,000 in there. They put like $5 in there, and all of a sudden they cannot do anything. So they're like, then, well, I guess that's useless. I'm just gonna move on to something else. I'm putting $5 in Solana, and I can do all of those things because I can do microtransactions in Solana. So that was one thing. And the other one is just that we're still too slow to settle the transactions on Cardano, which is not great for in-person payments. But still, I think the min ADA requirement is by far the biggest problem that Cardano faces at the moment. And if we solve this thing, it would drastically improve the user experience on Cardano as a whole, and it would create new possibilities for businesses to develop.
Great. Any questions or remarks on that?
I just want to congratulate because it's a lot of depth and it's very technical, some of that, but it does impact. So it's important. Although I'm usually always talking about humans and education, we do need to, there's a lot. And by the way, I'm also in the open source committee. I'm trying to help on a number of technical sides. And cheers to Christian in the comments and YouTube as well. Yeah, one thing, speaking to the Cardano community and touching on how these things are currently, the opportunities that we address them as a community, as an ecosystem, and we get to collaborate through the committees like the open source committee. I was just on a layer 2 call today, working group. It's open. Sebastian's there hosting it and open to discussion. So whether you're building, whether you're a user, come by working groups, come by committee calls, and voice your views and your needs, however you can find ways to do so.
Amazing. Yeah. I just want to also, I will mention Christian later on because I also have to thank him for actually bringing in this idea. We are having this because he's the one actually told me, hey, you know what you should do? At a random call, he mentioned this, and I'm like, you know what? That's a great idea. Let's do it. So here it is. Thanks, Christian, from open source. He's the head of open source at Intersect. So if nobody knows, there he is. He always wears a cowboy hat. So we call him the cowboy of Intersect. Him and Tex, both of them. Amazing guys. Just to now move on, I think we're hitting the 1 hour and 30 minutes. I want to have a quick roundabout to where you guys are going next with your projects. So, Phil, do you want to start off with consulting? What you guys are doing next, or what's your roadmap like?
Yeah, look, I mean, we've got a few different projects on the go at the moment. I think probably the one that stands out as potentially the most exciting for me is, and obviously just talking earlier about kind of DeFi and, when does it hit kind of real world adoption. One of the projects I'm working on is essentially a carbon credit registry. So there's a lot of activity at the moment with carbon credits with the UN introducing, and I'm going to say something technical now, Article 6.4 of the Paris Agreement, which is essentially a certain type of carbon credit process. And so there's a lot of countries at the moment that are kind of scrambling to get their registries compliant with this this condition. And so this project that we're working with are offering a registry product, and part of the solution is obviously having a marketplace to be able to trade carbon credits that are tokenized. And so this is obviously a perfect use case for the DeFi technology that we've all been kind of experimenting with. And I'm quite excited at the possibility of a conversation that I had on Monday with Pi from Sunday Labs. They've just recently released a permissioned DEX. So it's essentially a fully on-chain DEX, but somebody has the ability to control who has access to that smart contract. Normally a smart contract's on-chain and anyone can access it. So by having a permission DEX, it allows a regulated market to be created. So a market operator in a particular country could obviously KYC people who are permitted to use that marketplace. Well, the question then becomes, well, why have it on chain? Why not just have a centralized exchange for that? And obviously the point that we're pushing with regards to this is the fact that by having it all on chain, you've got this automated instant disbursement of all the monies involved. So if trading these assets incurs some kind of taxes, then the government can automatically have their taxes collected by the DEX. Obviously DEX fees, any other commissions that are there. And so we're no longer having to be reliant on a centralized exchange operator to under some kind of traditional legal agreement to be able to provide all those distribution of funds. The smart contracts can do that for us, but we then obviously don't have the free-for-all that we currently have with our DEXs where, anybody could come in there. So I'm quite excited about this technology and kind of starting to move that forward with some of the sovereign countries that this registry operator is working with. They've been in talks, obviously, with the Australian government here where I am, but also some African countries, so Tanzania and Zimbabwe recently. So I think that's probably one of the more exciting projects that we're currently working on, and just excited to see where we can take that proof of concept that Sunday Labs have introduced and actually bring it to some real life markets.
Amazing. Thank you, Phil. Alex, do you want to tell us where
Sure.
Vesper's going? Okay.
Happy to. So, as always with Vesper, we're really striving to improve the user experience, and we're always taking steps to make this as much as possible seamless. So we have started expanding our team actually to try and be able to cover more ground in a shorter time. But obviously, the very big next milestone that we're working on is integrating Bitcoin and everything that comes with it. So all the runes and basically everything that's Bitcoin, and laying the grounds for Bitcoin DeFi. We already created very strong partnerships with the key players in this space. So we're speaking with, obviously Sundial is a core partner for us. We have as well like SATS Terminal for trading as a partner, and quite a lot of them. So the whole idea is that we'll be making sure that the integration between Cardano and Bitcoin will be flawless end to end. We have a small working group that's dedicated to this particular task of experts in each of their own fields. So we have on the wallet side, there's us, Sundial for the Bitcoin yield opportunities, Fluid also on the Bitcoin yield with self-custody. On the bridging side, we're speaking with Bitcoin OS. So everything, like all of those big players in this narrative, like are coming together alongside us to make sure that everything will work great when we go ahead and launch it. So yes, that's the big next milestone for Vesper.
Amazing. Thank you, Alex. Lucas?
Yeah. Well, you can bring up my screen if you want. I'm happy to share very briefly. 45B has two upcoming milestones, which is basically launching the two main projects we can provide currently. The first one is kicking off our Web3 series of workshops. And there's a number of things that we can take people over, from installing a wallet all the way to understanding the concepts of blockchain. If you drop by 45b.io, you can get to know this in detail. So like I was saying, there's this outline of the course here, and we take people from installing the first wallet to understanding proof of work, proof of stake. We have a parallel with Bitcoin. I'm very much a Bitcoiner as well. Take people through the opportunities, and then dive into what would be maybe Phil's area a bit more, like understanding the use cases, and maybe we can actually partner here. So this is the main project, and I invite you to send us your noobs, send us your people, your friends that are curious about Web3. That's the biggest favor you can do for us right now. Second project that we're going to be kicking off very soon is doing UI and UX interventions in apps. So for example, we already collaborate with Vesper. Sometimes we try to lend them some suggestions, but this is going to be a more official intervention. I'm not sure actually if I can count Vesper on that batch of apps. There are also a number of other apps on Cardano that have great use cases, but they're just not sexy enough. They're just not user-friendly enough. And we want to bring users to those screens and try to find ways to flip those screens and feed that back to the builder of that tool. So those are the two projects. In terms of initiatives, we also have 3 initiatives. One of them is what we call 45B Grit. Stands for Grassroots in Touch, and we started this back in May. We've paused it, but it was actually a budget proposal that wasn't funded. We really want to advance at least with an MVP of it, where we are bringing all what was the community hubs, for example, bring them together, bring communities like WADA and a number of others, put them on a map, get the people to articulate and share what they're doing, collaborate as much as possible. So that's 45B Grit. And by the way, if you come down here, you can know our team. And there's our YouTube channel there where you can see the grid sessions that we've had so far, and get in touch with us through any socials that you can find to if you want to help with that project. Another project or initiative that we are running is what we call governance tool builders common space. So this aligns a lot with what I do at the open source committee, where there was a lot of tools besides GovTool, and we want to articulate with those. We're not replacing GovTool for sure in terms of being a center for things, but we feel that there's, again, looking at the UX and the product management side, there's a lot that other tool makers are doing that could feed into. And maybe in a way, what we could do is help fast track collaborations between governance tooling builders and feeding that to GovTools or vice versa. Then there's one weird thing that we call shop.45b.io, and I hope you can see it. So this aligns a lot with what Sander does. So it's just some things are behind me as well, some tabletops and things like those. Here we're crossing the culture of music, and we're actually going to be in a music festival this week with some of these because, like I said, go to places that are not Web3 and ask them why they shouldn't, like, for example, listen to Bitcoin while it's still indie type of narrative. So this is all prototypes, and if you want to help with this, we're actually looking for someone to champion this project because it's just an aside to what we do. That's what I can share for now. The call to action is reach out to us if you think our skill set can help, and send us anyone that you think can benefit from what we do. Cheers.
Yeah, I just wanted to add the X link is right down there for Lucas. You guys can, also on the stream, I've actually put that there so everyone can kind of get you guys and connect with you guys easier. Next, we have Saunders. What's next for Hello Labs? I know you talked about season 2. Is that what it is, or is more coming?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to share my screen. I'm not sure if it actually is working.
Let me, yeah,
Yeah.
it is there. Yeah.
Okay. So what's up for Hello Labs? Of course, we have been building quite fiercely on the media and television shows. We have a new podcast series where we're interviewing great founders, young founders, but also captains of industry. It's called Hello Crypto. We have been acquiring different YouTube channels, podcast channels, trading environments. So that is all being released in the next couple of weeks. A couple of big announcements coming there. But we are mostly proud on the fact that we're now taking all this, this marketplace of KOLs, projects, VCs, all of that stuff into the Web3 space. So we are about to release something that we call the Hello Club. This is basically a combination between Kaido, Uniswap, Polymarket, and Seedify, all wrapped into a media approach. So basically what we're going to allow our community to work with us on the projects that we're incubating, work with the whales on which projects they are supporting. We're going to launch a live version of Killer Whales on YouTube and Twitter so that each and every week, everybody can have a look at these projects pitching for a dreaded sink or swim vote from the Killer Whales judges. And they can even, get invested into the projects that they're working with. They can do predictions. They can trade tokens on the Hello DEX. We're translating this into an app, so you can easily download all of that stuff. You can even upvote or downvote the projects on the show, so you can be a truly part of the show production, of the projects, of the entertainment place. But at the same time, you can invest projects, trade projects. You can do some predictions. There is a lot of stuff cooking, and we're basically trying to bring Web3 and crypto together and make things a hell of a lot easier. And up until now, we didn't actually start building on Cardano, but maybe we should. So that is something that we're definitely open to explore. It's another conversation for another day, but we're very open to that. And I hope that in that shape or form, we as a partner of the ecosystem, can add some value to what Cardano is cooking.
Yeah, I just want to add something to that Sanders, you just mentioned. These sessions are, of course, to get to know a bit about you guys as enterprise members, but it's also to connect you guys together. I mean, maybe Phil, Alex, Lucas, you may think Sander, oh, well, I met Sander on that live stream. Let's have a chat. So do connect with each other. I'm sure you guys, I'm sure you will see Sanders in couple of events. He was at the Cardano Summit last year. You were in the Cardano Summit last year, weren't you, Sander? I believe.
Yes. On the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think he's enjoying the Cardano events, and I'm sure you're going to see more of him in the Cardano events now that he's part of Intersect and as an enterprise member. And definitely, there's a lot to build together, and that's the key note here. It's to build together and to work together as a team, as all enterprise members should. And just on a note on that, I am myself making I'm going to be funny here, but a Tinder service for all the enterprise members to kind of match them into what would be the best match and sort of have a call, so then there can be a meet and greet, and there could be some talks about how synergies could flow and sort of, what we spoke about today.
Sounds good.
Bring the future of Cardano up there. So other than this, I think we have hit the 1 hour and we have more than 1 hour and 30 minutes. I do want to close this by thanking all our 4 panelists here. I know it's different timings. Phil, I can see you are almost ready to go to bed. So am I. It's 9 here at night. And I just want to thank you for giving me time and really listening to you guys, what you guys are doing and where your projects are going, and in general talking about Web3 and all these other topics. Do want to also give a big shout out to all our 162 live watchers of this live show. Thank you for you guys coming in, sitting us down for an hour, 30 minutes. I know it can go crazy, but we did have great topics to talk about. And last but not least, I want to give a big shout out to Tim Richmond. He was a pinnacle in getting my comms out for this show. So I want to give a big thanks out to him, and Christian, of course. And my last point would be that we are going to be at Rare Evo. I wanted to just give you guys this little QR code. If you want to scan that, it will take you to the Luma page of the Rare Evo event, which is going to happen in August. And we're going to be there. Some of our Intersect team is going to be there. Jack, Nick, Laura, Thomas, Larissa, many others. Give them a high five and, just say they're doing a great job, which they are. We're working tirelessly to make this work. So thank you guys very much. Really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to season 2. And if there's any improvements that I need to do, let me know through email or through my X that, hey, this is what you need to improve on. I'm happy to take constructive criticism. I'm not perfect. No one is, but you know what? It's sometimes hard to admit it, but I do. So thank you very much, guys. And hope to see you guys soon in other events and live streams. Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for hosting, Apps. We couldn't have wished for a better host.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for hosting it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speak soon.